You're much changed. Let us be done with this. Please. And what do I do with you now? You let me go to do what I promised. And you fly to the Red Keep in 3 days' time and you take your throne. Or you take me for a liar. I have neither weapon nor armour. My life itself is forfeit. I cast myself on the mercy of a friend who once loved me. History will paint you a villain. Cold queen. Grasping for power and then defeated. Let them think what they must. I am at last myself, with no ambition greater than to walk where I please and to breathe the open air. To die unremarked and unnoticed. And be free. You speak as if from a distant dream. Come with me. My part is here, whether I will or no. It was decided for me long ago.
Live in the Minute with Mary studio from Providence, Rhode Island. Welcome to House of the Dragon with Mary and Blake. It's a podcast dedicated to House of the Dragon on HBO. So let's sit back, relax, and talk about fire and blood. Everybody, and welcome back. My name is Mary Larson.
My name is Blake, and I think I'm going to be an Alicent guy for the rest of my life.
Okay.
I am in on Alicent, and I think that's one of the reasons why, Mary, this finale has been frowned upon a little bit. I think they fumbled it with Alicent.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I do. And we'll get into it, obviously.
Yes.
But I think the show made a major miscalculation, but at the same time, a very small one. Aside from that, I think we're here for it, man. But you know what? We'll get into it.
Awesome.
We'll
awesome. There is so much to get into. This, of course, being the finale of season 2 of House of the Dragon. It's going to be a couple of years until we get our next season of this show. It's a great time for those of you who want to read the books. It's a great time to revisit, honestly, all of Game of Thrones, in my opinion. You've got enough time, baby. And Blake and I are also going to be podcasting about Rings of Power, and that starts back up later this month.
August 29th.
So if you are a fan of the fantasy realm, you're a fan of Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, we're going to be covering that, and we of course are going to be covering our beloved show Outlander, and that comes back around Thanksgiving this year. So just stay tuned.
Don't forget the Potterverse.
The Potterverse is going to be popping back up in full effect. So lots of great things going on. We want to thank our friends at jointhenerdclan.com. By the way, if you've been listening to our podcasts this season, we have brought some joy in your life. You can become a member at jointhenerdclan.com. This is our Patreon community where you can pledge for as little as $2 a month. It's less than a cup of coffee, and your contributions directly keep this show going. We are not part of a media conglomerate. We are not sponsored by HBO. We don't have major sponsors or anything like that. This truly is a mom and pop shop, podcast shop. So if you enjoy this content, which is free for the entire world, and you want to support us in a little way, please know that every single contribution, every single one of you at jointhenerdclan.com truly makes a difference in Blake and my life and the life of our children. So thank you so much for supporting the show for our members there. And for if you're not yet a member there, we would love for you to join. We also want to thank our friends who have taken to the realm of Apple Podcasts. Whether you listen to Mary and Blake podcasts on Apple, or if you listen to it on Facebook, YouTube, or a different podcatcher, you can actually head to Apple Podcasts and leave a written review. whether that's your podcatcher of choice or not, but it's actually the most important place to leave these written reviews. So I just want to give a shout out. We had Ray 4138752 wrote, great podcast. I love listening to Mary and Blake. I first got hooked through their This Is Us 2 podcast, started watching a little bit of Outlander because of them, and now House of the Dragon. Love their insights and the laughs along the way. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Ray. We also have Indie Mary. Must listen podcast every time. Simply the best. Mary and Blake consistently offer informative, interesting, and entertaining content. Mary's dad adds an extra viewpoint.
All right.
I also like their inclusion of listener commentary. Highly recommend Mary and Blake. And last but not least, we have LGCO, who writes feed favorites. I'm an archivist that spends a lot of my day scanning, filing, and sorting things. And you can be sure Mary and Blake are constantly in my podcast feed. The dynamic between the hosts is lovely. These two are very funny, sassy, and smart. They bring a unique perspective to their recaps, and I may not always agree with, but certainly enjoy and appreciate. I love Mary's random anecdotes and Blake's attention to detail. I could listen all day. So thank you, friends. And if you haven't left us a review of your own, please know that Blake and I read them. It is a hug to our hearts when we get this. So speaking of hug to our hearts, we did not get lots of warm fuzzies in this episode. You never really do in House of the Dragon. The only warm fuzzies is if you want to pretend to be a cannibal pirate in this episode. Let's be real, because that girlfriend, she has lots of warm fuzzies. So on that note, my friends, let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
Mini plot recap, your last one for season 2 of House of the Dragon. So this, of course, is the 8th and final episode of season 2, The Queen Who Ever Was. In this episode, if you're listening in the future and you haven't watched it recently and you're like, oh, what happened? Tyland, okay, the ship guy, he goes to the Triarchy, aka the pirates with the monkey and the blue beard, and they say, hey, sure, we'll join you, but you need to defeat Admiral Lohar. Mud wrestling, singing, having tons of fun with Lohar's wives, all the different things. So that's going on. Larys tells Aegon, hey, us fruit people with broken feet, let's go to Hawaii, aka Essos, and let's go have a vacation because I've dumped all my money there. Hang out with me, and he agrees. And then Harrenhal is the place to be if you're Team Black. Everybody's there. Dragons are there. Sir Simon Strong, wicked nervous about the stuff that's going on. But Daemon touches the Weirwood tree thanks to the Weird Witch. He sees everything. And he decides, you know what? I'm going to let Rhaenyra deal with this because this stuff's scary. And I like battling. And that's about it for me. Then Aemond, he's crazy with Vhagar, burning things up. And who puts him in his place? Not his mom, not his brother, not his uncle, but his sister. His sister lays it down and says, I know everything. You're gonna die, brother. Didn't die this episode, but you know, it is what it is. And then of course, we have Alicent who goes to Dragonstone. I don't know how Alicent keeps getting away. We're gonna discuss this, but she goes over and she says, hey Rhaenyra, guess what? I did mess up. You were right. What can I do to help you become queen? And Rhaenyra says, great, I need to kill your son. And Alicent says, okay. The end.
All right. Here we go. Directed by Geeta Vasant Patel. You should know this name by now because she has directed episode 108, The Lord of the Tides, 203, The Burning Mill. So some of the better episodes of this series, Marvin. And the writer, once again, was Sarah Hess. Now, once again, I do want to say that she is not the showrunner. She's not a co-showrunner, but it feels like she's the number 2 in all of this. She is... It feels like she's taken on a very important creative role. Kind of like, as I've said before, Ira Stephen Bear to Ron Moore in, Star Trek or Outlander. It feels like she has done that for Ryan Condal, the showrunner of House of the Dragon. Sarah Hess has written 106, The Princess and the Queen, 109, The Green Council, and also 202, Rhaenyra the Cruel. So that is that, Marvin. How many flames are you giving this episode?
This episode, in my opinion, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as last week's episode, however. So I'm just going to give it a 4.9 because last week was 4.95.
Yes.
So I'm going to give it a 4.9, a slight deduction.
Do you know what I love?
Do tell.
Mary had not written in her... She had not written in the number.
No.
And what I do for her is I make sure that her ratings stay in the Google Doc from the previous episode.
I need that to remember.
So that way she knows within context, okay, what did I rate last episode? Mm-hmm. But what I love is that Mary officially changes it in the Google Doc, despite the fact that she's already said it on the podcast. I just think it's so cute. No matter what, she always changes it.
Well, don't you send this out to our patrons?
Well, I haven't been. No.
Oh,
no.
You used to.
I used to. But you know what? Nobody read it. Nobody cared about it, so I stopped doing it.
Well, friends@jointhenerdclan.com, if you do want the show notes back, let us know. We will do it. Because I go in, change it, thinking somebody's reading it. Here I go.
So, yeah, nerds, let us know. If you want us to give out the show notes again, we will. I just stopped doing it because nobody was reading the posts. So that's that. All right, for me, as in episode, Mary, I'm going to give this a 4.9 as an episode of television because I think it's a very good episode of television. There's a lot of things that it did very well and it built upon from the earlier episodes. However,
huge.
As a finale, I have to give this a 3. It reminded me of season 6 of Outlander finale, where you're like, okay, Jaime's off riding the horse. Whee! That's what it reminded me of.
Okay.
And I was not happy with that.
I don't think the writers were happy with it. Isn't this what happened? Didn't the writers, weren't they told they were going to have something different? And then HBO became Max and everything, and then their budget got cut. I heard that somewhere, that this was supposed to be a longer season. We were supposed to be doing many things. And
originally this season was supposed to be 10 episodes long. But then HBO cut it to 8.
And cut how much money they got.
Sure, but I'm going to say the same exact thing I did for Outlander. Figure it out.
It's your job.
It's your job. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. Do it. Don't leave that as an excuse. And by the way, I'm happy with this as an episode. We'll get into why we're as a finale. Okay. It's not good. Okay, go ahead.
I got you.
All right. You're GBG. You're good. You're bad. And you're great.
Okay. You ready for this?
Yes.
Y'all ready for this? Yo ho, yo ho. A pirate's life for me.
Okay.
Shiver me friggin' timbers. Sign me up. These pirate people, I love it. I love their beards. I love the hair dye. I love their monkeys. I love their mud wrestling. I love they are having the friggin' best time in all of Westeros, Essos, Pentos, anything else. They are living it up. They don't care that there's war. Sign me up. That's who I should have worn clothing for, was the friggin' pirates. I should have come out. I think I have a pirate hat. Hold on.
Mary does have a pirate hat. No, it should be, it was over there. I don't know. I don't know where I put it. Sorry, kiddo.
It's okay.
We did have a pirate hat somewhere. I don't know where it is anymore.
And it truly was, right there. Anyway, so Pirate's Life for me.
Yes.
Not only was it a fun way to open, it continues to remind us that this world is huge. Just like with Game of Thrones, would throw you for a loop and you're like, okay, we're meeting a new family. We have to remember that the characters that we've been seeing are, yes, the greens, the blacks, but there are so many other elements at play. And I just love me some crazy pirates. I love me some pretend cannibals. You never know what's going on. I love everything. They just they're shifty, okay? We know we can't trust these guys, but I'm going to have fun watching them. I'm going to have a lot of fun. My bad, I hate every friggin' shipyard scene. If there is a Corlys with his little ship, I hate it. Get me a different viewpoint. I feel like all they built was the dock. Okay, and they're just like, let's just use the dock. Let's
fair.
do the same shots. Because first off, I'm bored of this scenery. You've got CGI up the wazoo, and I know there's also real oceans nearby. Like, go do something different. Secondly, where is the security for Rhaenyra? She's just walking around with the hand. You're in a flippin' war. And she's just walking. People could be doing all sorts of stuff. And I got to tell you, it just doesn't make me feel safe. I don't appreciate this. I am so bored with Corlys. I hope he dies right away. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think he's a terrible hand. He's a terrible dad. You're old. You're the hand. Stay home.
Mary's bringing the heat today.
I hate you, Corlys. I hate your ship scenes. I hate all of it.
Mary woke up today and chose violence.
I cannot wait for the pirates to kill him. Okay, that's where I'm at. Yay for pirates. Goodbye, Corlys. My great. Give me all of the weird. Oh, Game of Thrones magic at its best.
Yep.
I just love this universe because you're so invested in these personal conflicts and these power conflicts of who's going to be on the Iron Throne and who's doing this. And you get distracted. You get distracted time and time again in this universe that there is some weird magical stuff going on. And then every once in a while you get a little witch, get a little weird guy walking around with antlers on his head. You get Daemon changing his trajectory over this season because of some weird Weirwood magic.
Sure.
I love it and I'm here for it. And I love the little shout outs to the things that we know in the future. Blake, what are your GBGs?
All right. So my good is I have a tie.
No.
Yeah. First, it's that 3-minute one shot that Daemon has when Sir Alfred shows up and they're walking through all of Harrenhal.
I didn't even notice that was a one shot.
Oh man, it was so cool. And just
you mean when he's like checking people's swords?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Hey, do you want me to join your team?"
Right. And it begins with Daemon. He's checking swords, and then they're like, "Hey, this guy, your visitor, Sir Alfred's showing up," and he laughs, and they start walking through. That follows him
out to the Weirwood?
Correct.
That's all one camera?
That's all one shot.
That's really cool.
Right. And that's when a show or a movie or whatever gets a chance to flex its muscles a little bit and be like, look at this. And the kind of maneuvering and the kind of technical work that takes is very difficult, right? Because once you start it, if there's a screw up, everybody has to go back into place and you have to start it all over again, right? So it's important. And there is this one even moment where Sir Alfred, like, as he's walking behind Daemon, is walking behind him kind of frenetically, but he's like touching people's shoulders to try to keep moving. It's just a really cool thing. And it ends by the Weirwood tree, and it ends with them talking about, "Oh, I didn't expect you to be a turncloak." Really great stuff. But also it culminates with the woods whispering into the air. And Sir Alfred says, "Did you hear that?"
Yeah.
And Daemon says, "This place will have you barking at the moon,"
which is awesome.
It's great because it shows that Daemon has grown a little bit and has learned to accept what Harrenhal has offered. But Mary, did you hear what was whispered?
So here's the scoop, poops. If you do not watch TV shows on your second go round with no subtitles, you miss out. I promise you. Use the subtitles either the first time or the second time or whatever, because you just hear tap, 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 tap. Okay? Agreed?
Agreed.
You don't know what it's whispering. You just get the drift that, like, the traitor guy, he's hearing whispers, and Daemon's like, "I didn't hear that, but weird things happen to me, buddy." But if you have the subtitles on, you hear that they actually say traitor.
Right.
And then you can hear it, and you're like, yeah, that definitely is what they're saying. They are definitely saying traitor.
Traitor. Just like that.
Which, let's discuss that in a little while, because
Yes. So I really liked that. I thought that was my good. And the other good is the dream sequence. I mean, how can you not love
dream sequence?
Yeah, the Daemon's dream sequence. The weird of it all.
Oh, I don't call that a dream.
Well, okay.
Because dream makes me think he's sleeping. He was not sleeping.
What, like seeing into the future or the prophecy or Weirwood. Yeah, the Weirwood dream sequence. That's what it was. I Really loved that.
Agreed.
I mean, obviously the stuff with, not showing it because Emilia Clarke wasn't there, but having Daenerys be there and having Daemon see the future, seeing the comet, seeing just all of these things that change him and recognize that he is now ready for all of that to see it. Really cool stuff. It feels like a Deus Ex Machina a little bit, but it's okay.
I love it.
Because
it's in
they
the
built up
universe,
to
yes.
that. It's in universe, and there's a magic to this world that kind of sets this world apart from any other TV shows that we kind of watch. And maybe except for the Rings of Power. But I would say that this is probably more
There's
rooted.
a comet in Rings of Power, too.
That's true. All right, my bad. My bad is Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess.
Oh, you are throwing it down.
Yeah, I'm upset.
Oh, wow.
And not because I think a lot of people were like, oh, we need to have a battle. There was a big buildup and then it just kind of did nothing. And that's not wrong. But that's not why I'm upset with Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess. I'm upset with them because they should have known better than to end the episode the way that they did. They should have known that, okay, we don't have enough money for a big battle. We blew our load on
all the dragons,
on Rook's Rest and the Red Sowing. Okay, great, you did it. You're not going to have a big battle. Fine. But what you have to recognize then is that you need some sort of catharsis for your characters and for your viewers. And they didn't give it. It was the final montage. I would say that this episode is perfect. Like, quite literally perfect as a finale until that final montage. And then the whole thing just goes to crap.
Oh.
Because they didn't give any catharsis for our characters by the end of the episode. They got right up to the brink, and then they were like, montage. And then the montage ends the episode, and there's no catharsis. There's no catharsis there's a little bit for Rhaenyra, there's none for Alicent, but everybody else does pretty good. And that's why I say they screwed Alicent, and that's how they screwed up, because they messed up with her theme, and they messed up with what she is doing this episode. We'll get into what I think that should have been.
I'm like so confused because I thought it was great. But yes, let's get into it.
We'll get into what it should have been, but that's it. My great is I actually have a tie again. My first great is when Rhaenyra steps back from Daemon and says, "And to whom do you serve?" Or are you... Yes. Whom do you serve? She steps back because she wants to make sure that everybody hears this.
I'm going to say this loud and clear.
And Daemon steps forward and starts speaking High Valyrian to her. And that is very special between these two. He doesn't want anybody else to hear what he's about to say. And what's great is that conversation isn't about you did this and I did that. It's winter is coming. This is a big problem. It's bigger than you and me. And it mirrors the conversation between Aemond and Aegon, but in complete opposites, right? Instead of Aemond putting Aegon down, it's Daemon lifting up and recognizing Rhaenyra as his queen, all in High Valyrian, which is really awesome. That moment is such a cool moment. And then he does the big public display. He kneels and does the whole thing. But it's that moment, that High Valyrian moment, that actually it earns that moment of the sword up and for our queen, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's awesome. But of course, I also have to say the final shot of Rhaenyra and Alicent of the episode. And
which you just hated on the montage.
Hold on, let me. Yeah. I did hate on it.
Yeah.
But the final shots are beautiful, and they're beautiful because the the blocking and the placement of Rhaenyra being crushed by all of the weight of history and the scrolls and the duty and the purpose of being a Targaryen. And it's in that little hexagon she is, and matched in totally in size and in the scope of the picture is Alicent out on the rocks. She's the same exact size as Rhaenyra, but instead of the weight of the world and the weight of history, she's free, looking out over the horizon. And even before that, they have Alicent on the left facing right, and then they have Rhaenyra on the right facing left during that montage. Just really, really cool, really beautiful stuff. So that's also my grade, because you can't really get better than that. At least, again, what they do well is so freaking good. But what they do bad is so freaking bad.
I know.
All right, so that's my good, my bad, and my great. All right, Marvin, Team Green or Team Black?
Well, I am here rocking my black. I know for the past couple of episodes, I've been black adjacent. So my Starks finally are coming. Okay, we saw them. We saw the Greybeards. So excited. I've lost a little faith in Lady Erin's team because nobody went to go find Rhaena. Okay, so the blue is for them, but also the Tullys. I'm happy because that army's looking pretty darn good.
Yep.
But overall, I'm here for Team Black. I really am. I don't like Ulf. Who does?
Yeah.
Right? Facts. But aside from Ulf, I am super Team Black.
Okay, fair enough. All right, for me, for those of you who are watching live, I'll go to my main camera. You see that I have a shirt. It's a NASA shirt, which has nothing to do with this show, but this saying is relevant on my shirt to the show, and that is, failure is not an option. And I have that, and it's in blue, not because I'm a Tully supporter or anything.
You should be.
Though I am.
The kid is awesome.
Failure isn't an option for this show.
As of the fun fact, Tullys.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin named the Tullys all Sesame Street characters.
Right, yeah. It gets there's going to be a Kermit.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's like Oscar Grover, Kermit, and what was the other one?
I can't remember now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's another one.
But whatever. So
good for you.
He gets his Sesame Street
Grover.
love in there. But yeah, the failure is not an option for this show. And
for the show.
Right.
Not for any character in particular, but you're saying House of the Dragon.
Right.
Failure cannot be an option for you. The show?
Yes. Because they have, I think, put themselves in a very dicey situation. They have 2 years left before the next season, and they left everybody quite upset. And I'm not a team right now. I can't be a team.
Why?
Because I think if I had to choose, I would say Team Green, because...
What? No one's good on green. Alicent's left green. Do you see what she's wearing? She's wearing blue. She's done with the green. She didn't even wear green at the end of the episode. She took that off and said, this color sucks.
But that's not going to happen.
She's already wearing blue.
Doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
It doesn't matter. And this is why they screwed it up. Again, I go back to it. They screwed Alicent up. And that's what I think everybody is getting a bad taste in their mouth about.
She doesn't want to be green anymore.
I know.
That's not bad.
But that's the point.
That's not screwed up.
That's the point. Yes, it is. Because the reason... All right. She has to go back to the Red Keep.
Yes.
Right. She's going to discover that her son is gone.
Awesome.
She's not just going to leave. She can't just leave.
No.
But she doesn't have her son to give over to Rhaenyra.
That's okay. That makes it fun.
Exactly.
Why is that a problem?
Because they didn't do that in the show.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. They didn't do it properly, and they didn't give you catharsis for that moment. And I'll tell you why. But I'm going to be Team Green because Alicent has to go back to the Red Keep, and she has to rule in her son's stead in some specific way. And if she's ruling in his stead, I feel like the Greens are in a better place.
I don't think it's going to be. Okay, even if it's Team Green, if Alicent rules, she's ruling for 2.5 days. She has to get there. She's like, Rhaenyra, come on over in 3 days. Maybe it takes her a day to get home. I don't know. Is she flying Delta? No matter what, she gets there, and then she has to open the gates.
No, the deal's off. The deal is off. She can't give over.
Yes, she can.
Her son.
She can. No. First, she gets to open the gates. And Rhaenyra comes in. It's like, awesome. This is great. And then she can be like, listen, you're already here. Here's the throne. I lost my son. I'll find him. But, like, take the throne while you're here.
No, she can't do that.
Yeah, she can.
She can't do that.
She can.
Nope. But again, I feel like I keep teasing this, and I don't want to keep teasing it, but I want to get into the specifics of it. I know it's going to bore the hell out of you, Mary.
Oh no!
But
what
I do want to
talking about.
I do want to get into the specifics of why I think this was.
Are you wearing a NASA shirt?
No, of why I think this is.
What about my dad?
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
When? Do I have to listen to something boring first?
No. No, we're going to get into your dad.
Okay.
But I'm saying I do want to get into it, and I want to have it as a take, and then I want to get into all of the listener feedback because we have a lot. And I think it's important. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Let's see what your dad says.
Great.
All right, here we go.
Hey, it's Mary's dad calling in about episode 8 of House of the Dragon. Boy, I was really disappointed that there wasn't some major battle scene. I thought things were going to really reach a fever pitch here, but looks like they're waiting to the next season for it. Anyway, I'm still definitely Team Black. I think all the chips are going in their favor. In terms of my good, bad, and my great, my good, believe it or not, was Ulf.
Wow.
His acting like he's just in a bar and giving orders for more food and more drink and other things. I think it's his way of saying, hey, we're just as good as you folks. He eventually caved to the peer pressure from the other dragon riders, and I wouldn't be surprised that he gets toasted pretty soon.
Toasted.
The bad, of course, had to be when Aemond tried to get his sister to ride the dragon. It was getting pretty rough with her and with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And my great is when Alan told Corlys what a crappy father he'd been.
Yes.
That had obviously been simmering for a long time, and I was glad he finally got that out.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite part of the episode had to be the mud wrestling. That was great.
I love it.
That's it. Take care.
Yes.
Wow. The mud wrestling is fun.
It is fun.
It does provide a bit of levity into a relatively serious situation.
That's why it was my good.
Television.
All the pirate fun.
All right. So, Mary, I think it's important that we at least have a kind of like an opening take on all of this.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to avoid the elephant in the room, and that is they had the end.
What?
The ending happens, and it feels like a giant tease for next season and nothing else. It feels like we watched a trailer for next season.
Okay. So for you to say that, and for people who feel that way, I challenge you to go through this season and see everything that already happened and to say patience. And, would you have wanted things in a different order? Would you have wanted Rhaenys to be killed? Would you have wanted little baby Jacaerys to be killed? Would you have wanted, the Dragonseed to be chosen in the finale? Like, major big things happened in this season. And so I feel like it wasn't a letdown. I feel like we accomplished a lot. We set the chessboard up. It's like Risk when you're just kind of bored and you're just moving people around, but it gets good. The cutthroat is coming. We know that.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of exciting things happened in this season.
Oh, I agree. I think there's an argument to be made that, perhaps the final moments of the last episode, the Red Sowing, where with Rhaenyra and the dragons over her shoulders, maybe that should have been the final scene. Maybe Rook's Rest could have been the final, or even
the premiere was exciting. Remember I said usually I don't get excited about Game of Thrones verse type premieres. That usually takes me a couple episodes. I was in it from the very beginning. So I think what is different for us is I think we're used to having a season finale where we're so amped up, where it's like, oh my God, Luke was eaten, all this
Right.
kind of stuff happens. But a lot already happened. And now they have to have the take a deep breath. Here's where everyone is. Because let's be real. We're going into season 3 nonstop battling. We know it. We know it. We see it.
Well, that's kind of what we thought about season 2. We thought we were going into season 2.
I didn't think that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just thought everyone's angry, but it takes a lot of time to get all these people involved. Now we think about it. Like this is olden times in imagination world,
Sure.
right? But you have people on horses. You've got the Greybeards on foot. And if you have not looked at a map of Westeros lately, that is a long way to go. If you've got, older people marching on foot trying to get all the way to King's Landing. So I don't think it would make sense from season 1 to come to season 2 and be like, okay, now here's our full war.
Mm-hmm.
When that's impossible, unless you're all doing it on Dragon back. But this to me shows you we're beginning to understand. And also this is our final goodbye season to all these dragons. We are going to be losing more and more dragons as we go forward,
Sure.
as you're able to even see in Daemon's dream with all the dead dragons and dead bodies. Dragons disappear at the end of this season, at the end of this show.
Yes.
Dragons
they're
are
all gone. Yes. Do you believe in your dad's take that there should have been a battle at the end of, I feel disappointed. There was a big buildup for a battle and nothing happened. Do you agree with that take or no?
No. I don't need a battle.
How come?
I personally don't need one. Like I said, we had Rook's Rest, which was incredibly epic. We just had the sowing with all the dragons. I think that would have been a really fun ending, but then we wouldn't have had them stand up and face Vhagar. Had that been the ending, that would have been cool. But to be honest, I liked this ending. I'm left saying, who the heck has Otto? And how is Alicent going to handle the fact that Aegon's missing?
Mm-hmm.
And Aemond, we know that he's going to go fight and he doesn't necessarily have the backup that he wants. So how is that all going to go down? I'm excited. This is when the risk game gets good. When you're saying, okay, we've played it for 3 hours, but now it's going to be fun and now we're going to be ruthless.
Sure.
So I'm okay with it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
I understand why people are upset that they didn't get a big battle or they didn't get something like the spark to the flame, if you know what I mean.
You could have, I guess, maybe had the ship battle, but still, I think they're showing you everything's taking time.
Yeah, sure.
You can't have Tylan get the pirate support and then go face the blockade the next day.
Episode. They could. They just chose not to. And
because then you didn't get to build the relationship as much.
Sure.
You didn't get to enjoy these characters as much.
Exactly.
And we'd just be like, okay, we met these people and now they fight and die.
Right. So you have to do things in accordance with how you've written it, right? Or how you choose to write it. If you want to build the relationships, that means theme and character take the forefront of the story, as opposed to spectacle and, the red sowing, right? Like the dragons just burning everybody. So if you're not going to do spectacle, if you're not going to do a big battle, if you're not going to have something going on, you have to follow through on your theme. You have to follow through on the choices that your characters have made. I think
the theme of this season is preparation, and solidification. Is this what we're going to do? Are there any other choices? Are there any other options? Let's try the other options. And if that doesn't work, is bloodshed the only option we have left? That's what season 2 to me is. Before we kill everyone, before we kill all the dragons, we kill all the small folk, we truly destroy the Targaryen line.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try every other possible option.
And Mary, I think you're kind of running into my take that I want to have. And I'll finally pay off what I was saying earlier about Alicent. I think I would argue that this season, Alicent is the main character of the show so far. Well, at least of this season. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
How come?
I don't think there is one main character. I think she's the main on the Greens, but I wouldn't say that she's the main character.
Okay, that's fair. I would argue that she is because she had the biggest change in her story.
You don't think Daemon had a big change?
Oh, I do, but he is obviously not the main character.
And even Rhaenyra. I mean, she's gone from like, I don't want to hurt anybody to let me get some more dragons and go kill lots of people.
Sure. But yes, that is a plot change. That's a plot change, but it's not a internal change.
Huh.
And the way that I see it is a main character is defined by the internal change of what they're going through. And if you see someone who gets a lot of screen time, has a major internal change, then you're focusing your story on that person. By the way, I'm not saying she's the main character of the whole story. I'm just saying it is for this season. And it always goes back to, Mary, I think, what we talk about here at Mary and Blake Media. And it goes into theme and thesis, right? We have, as you know, theme can't be like a vague concept. It can't be love or brotherhood. It has to be a question, something that has to be argued, right? It has to be something, it has to be the relationship to your thesis, something that you're trying to say, something that you're trying to prove. You know, if you love somebody, let them go. Better to be dead than be a slave. Like that's a theme, right? That's a thesis. You can argue that. And what I would argue is that the theme of this season, I think for both the Greens and the Blacks, is something like what you said, Mary. This has to be like, it starts off with, let's figure out everything before, like, is this what we're doing, right? Is this the thing that we're doing? We're preparing. Let's do all the different options before we do war, right? But the ongoing theme that I'd argue is wars begin and nobody cares how or why. They just begin. And I think Alicent starts the season thinking, okay, I'm in charge. I have power. I put my son on the throne, and I'm going to keep him on the throne because that's what I'm going to do. And throughout the season, we see people eat away at that with the anti-theme or the antithesis, which is, it doesn't matter what you do. War's going to happen. You have no power. It's just going to start. It's going to begin, and you don't have any say in any of this. And we see her theme or the anti-theme get ripped apart slowly. And in fact, it even culminates with her in the water, right? Where she's like, I just want to go glamping. I just want to do what I want to do. Right? Does that make sense?
For you, yeah.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, and what I'm getting at is she goes from saying, I'm in charge, I have the power. Then she has this moment with Rhaenyra when Rhaenyra says, no, that story that you heard from my father, that's just a story. He didn't really want Aegon on the throne. And Alicent still says, no, I don't care. It's too late. I'm in charge. I'm in the power. I'm going to hold it. And then from there, she slowly loses this ideal. She goes glamping because she recognizes it's the truth. And she's at a low point. We all want battles. We all want horses and guys dying and dragons and everything. But if you're not going to have that, I want to see this person lost. I want to see the change in them because we can all relate to that. We've all been lost at some point. And that's where Alicent was. And then she finally realizes, oh no, I can actually do something. She isn't given up. I can do something. I can broker a deal. She goes back to Rhaenyra. She brokers the deal. And then she even resists in giving her son up. But then she decides, okay, you can have my son. A son for a son. Where the show went wrong was they treated Aegon, him leaving, as just a thing happening within a montage. But that goes against what the theme is.
But I don't think it's the theme. But I appreciate for you that you think it is. So I can appreciate that for you.
Okay, so, but I think that it is because they've built this character up to make this choice.
But that's where I say, like, I don't think she is the main character of this season. I don't think she's the main character of this episode. I think that there's many different characters, and we'd been seeing the writing on the wall with Larys and Aegon for a long time now. So it's not just, oh no, he's in a montage. If you want to throw in the Otto thrown in the montage, okay, you can get that. But I feel like we've had the lead up with Aegon since he was burned by Aemond.
Sure. That's the issue though, because at the same time, Mary, we have seen Alicent try to be a mother to her kids and she can't, and she hasn't found a way, despite the fact that like Aegon is calling out for his mother, saying mother and all the whole thing. And when she's speaking to Rhaenyra, she says to Rhaenyra, yeah, I can talk to Aegon. I can figure it out.
Here's a scoop. Like, I don't think she's a main character because if she wasn't in this show anymore, if she was dead, I don't think anything would have changed.
I understand. But the problem is there was no catharsis at all. It was just a montage. There was no moment that closes out the show.
Are you done?
Okay, you don't like it.
No, it's not that I don't like it. I just feel like you're repeating your same points over and over, and it's not going to change my mind. I don't know what you're trying to do, but I appreciate it for you.
What I'm trying to say is, if they had a moment at the end of the show where Aegon had, it wasn't just part of the montage, but Alicent comes back and sees that he's not there after she made this deal with Rhaenyra, and then there's some sort of moment for her where she's like, oh my God. It goes back to theme and anti-theme, where it's like, no, you don't have any power in any of this. This war is going to happen regardless of whether or not you want it. Because people around you are making decisions without your approval. She even says to Aegon, do nothing. Just do nothing. But by him doing something, it furthers the war. Like, okay. All right, no problem. I get it.
You get what?
I get it.
I wanted you just to be able to make all your points that you appreciate.
All right.
So I get it.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, no problem. All right, so we do have a lot of listener feedback here for the Small Council. Is there anything else that you'd like to address before we do so?
I hope that the Maester gets to go on a vacation as well. Maybe he is in that carriage full of ravens because he has helped everybody out on your beloved Team Green. He just keeps helping them out.
He just tries to do the best that he can.
Yes, he somehow gets Alicent over to Rhaenyra. He's just trying to help Aegon. So I really hope that he doesn't die in a fiery hell. That's who I'm rooting for right now. Is Master Orwell.
Oh,
the Maester.
Yeah.
Maester Orwell.
It's hard not to.
That's who I'm rooting for.
Guy's just doing his job.
I need some clarification. I didn't know Sunfire was definitely dead until Aegon said this after he talked about his sausage exploding. So what is interesting is that like Aegon will never have a male heir because the sausage exploded. Mm-hmm. So like even if he does come back and sit upon a wood throne, his line may not continue after him unless he gives it to his daughter, for example. But it was interesting because we saw Sunfire fall and be burned a bit, but we never got clarification that she definitely died, except he's now saying it. So I always just kind of keep in the back of my mind that maybe she's not dead. Why I know I didn't like Kristen Cole snuggling Alicent's.
How come?
Okay, so I actually thought you were going to play what he said as the clip because what he said was so powerful, impactful. Mm-hmm. You know, he's had such a remarkable journey over this season. What I didn't like was actually Sir Gawain, Alicent's brother, freaking out all of a sudden. Boy, where have you been? Like, why now?
Well, I think he had his suspicions.
Are you upset as he holds the sword to Kristen Cole as he's smelling his dirty hanky? You saw him get the hanky from Alicent, so you knew it was happening then. You've been with him all this time and you didn't bring anything up. Why are you bringing it up now in front of all these people that Kristen Cole is in charge of that's leading into battle? It just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like if Kristen Cole had been having a dream. Oh, Alicent, I love being with you. Snuggle, snuggle, kiss, kiss. Okay, now you're like admitting it to the world, but I don't understand why now Sir Gawain is mad. You saw him get the hanky. And why don't you confront him privately instead of in front of everybody?
It's fair. It's fair. I think he had his suspicions. I think that's why he kept a close eye on Sir Criston. But then he sees him. It's different to get the hanky and just like have it, but to like smell it and to like caress it almost.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference. And once you get that kind of confirmation, if you're Sir Gawain and you feel like you are morally superior at that point, you do feel like, oh, it's my duty to come down on this guy. And it's fair. It's fair. But then you're right. Sir Criston Cole has this great monologue where he's like, this is all pointless anyway.
Yeah, we're all going to die.
We're going to die. And I love when he says, she's my beacon, which, by the way, is the sigil of the High Towers. It's a beacon with green fire. So really cool. And that's when he puts his sword down and at least
Sir Gawain just
understands
sits down.
the conversation.
And I'm just thinking about all these other soldiers who are watching, thinking, what the heck is going on? These are our two top leaders, and they're fighting. He's talking about, you're sleeping with my sister. The gossip at dinner that night.
Oh.
You know it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Yes. It might be good, Mary, to give a, like, where are we, like, with all these people and where they're going and like who's on who. Does that make sense?
Sure. Okay,
so I feel like we have
from the north.
Yes.
We've got the Starks coming down. They are going over the bridge right now. From the creepy people. So they're on their way down.
Yep.
Then we have the Riverlands people at Harrenhal. So kind of still in that middle area.
Team Black.
Yes, still Team Black. So Team Black's kind of like all coming from that area. We've got all the rich Lannisters with their lions marching on in. We have the ship Lannisters with the pirates coming up from the southeast who are going to come and fight the blockade. Dragonstone and King's Landing are super close to each other. Okay, guys? They are a stone's throw away from each other. And the blockade is happening right there as well. It's kind of like this Triforce, right where that all is happening. And then you've got, so the Driftmark is right along there too.
Yep.
Super close. That's like the next island next to Dragonstone. The Vale, they don't really want to get involved, but they're along those kind of middle areas. And and then Essos is off the map because that's Hawaii.
So
is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, no. I basically just like who is with who, where are they all going? Essentially, they're all converging on Harrenhal.
Yes.
Essentially, right? Because
not the ship people. They're all converging to the middle of the map.
Right.
That's the easiest way to see it, is that everyone's coming to the middle of the map. If you're on foot, you're heading to Harrenhal. I don't necessarily know who, like, Criston Cole's armies and the Lannisters. I think that they're, everyone's just meeting in the middle. And if you're on boats, you're heading to sea. If you're marching, you're either heading to Harrenhal or King's Landing.
Yep. All right. You ready to get into the small council feedback?
Sure.
All right. No, you don't sound too confident.
The last thing I needed is we need to go over what Daemon saw from the Weirwood tree.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because I think that's really important.
Okay.
So, of course, he goes on out with Alice the witch, and she's like, you're ready for this, man? I was doubtful, but I think that you're ready for it. He goes, and there's that weird antlered humanoid figure that walks kind of like and disappears right into the Weirwood tree. The first thing he sees is tons of roots of the Weirwood tree going everywhere. He sees the three-eyed raven coming out of the person's face. You see the three-eyed raven, the character that was Max von Sydow in the later seasons, but he's younger at this point, which is interesting. And then you see the viewpoint of a dire wolf running through the snow, and you see the White Walkers with an army. You see dragons all dead, people dead, lots of blood. We see Daemon,
a number of different dragons, not just one, but like lots of different dragons.
We see Daemon like stumble and fall and drown. Essentially, we see.
Did you notice too that like the blood that or whatever he's walking in is that same kind of black stuff that is going through the intro on the tapestry.
Oh, cool.
It's the same stuff.
The weirwood sap?
Yeah, it's the weirwood sap.
Very cool.
Yeah.
He sees the 3 eggs that Rhaena was supposed to be babysitting, and she really dropped that ball. But then we see Daenerys with the fire and the eggs, but we don't know it's Daenerys. But she has the same kind of hairdo as Rhaenyra. And then we end with Rhaenyra on the throne, wearing the crown, on the throne, the Game of Thrones throne.
Yep. We also see the comet as well. The comet that announces back in season 2 of Game of Thrones that magic has returned to Westeros, which is interesting. We also see Daemon drowning in the water, or at least going down into the water.
It ends with him in his dream talking to Helaena, and she says it's all of a story and we're just a part of it. And of course, Helaena, we get to see her in the next scene. She's wearing the same outfit and she's talking to her brother. This reminded me of Stranger Things. When 11 is on the other side and they're standing in pretty much just black. It looked just like it. I'm like, this is Stranger Things, down to you walking inside wet stuff right now.
Right.
They might be looking for some Eggo waffles or something. Who knows? But I just thought that you could just easily make that a Stranger Things part.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because it forces you to ask the question, is Helaena part of this process? Like, for Daemon? She's the one narrating it in his dream. Like, she's out there looking out and speaking. The way that it's edited is that you're forced to assume that Helaena is part of what is happening for Daemon.
I think she's just been watching this show all the time. I think she's just had access into the Weirwood and into the magic world. It's like she's had a CB radio, okay? It's like she's had a CB radio and she's been listening to it and doesn't know anybody else on it.
Right.
And you're just listening for fun. And you're like, maybe I'll hear something. Maybe I'll hear of an accident. Maybe I'll hear something funny. And then she sees her uncle.
Yeah.
She hears her uncle's voice in the CB radio and she's like, Uncle Daemon?
Hi!
You've got one of these too?
And then another thing too that I really liked that piqued my ears, or at least my interest, was when she's speaking to Aemond. She's like, you're gonna die. You're gonna disappear into the waters of the God's Eye. She says it in a past tense, like it's already happened.
Yeah.
And I really like that because, again, is she part of this network? Does she have this CB radio, right? Did she see it? And if she sees it, implicit in that is that she has a connection with Bran later on in Game of Thrones, because as the Three-Eyed Raven, Bran can see all of time all at once.
Sure.
And maybe he's telling her all of this stuff,
He
right?
runs the control center for the CB radios.
Right. So I just think it's interesting that she gets a chance to see all this and feel all of it and talk about it in terms of past tense.
She also says that Aegon will come back. He's going to be king again, but he's going to sit on a wooden throne.
Well, he is sitting on a wooden. That's what she says it in present tense. He's sitting on a wooden throne.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, that could be a reference to where he is right now, right? Like he's in that carriage. He's on a wooden throne. Wherever the king is, that's a throne. But I also think of Bran, right? Because he's on a wooden wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's who she's referring to?
I don't think so, because she's talking about Aegon specifically in that. But
well, yeah, she's talking about Aegon, but... Well, yeah, I guess so.
I just need to give a shout out. I am so glad the Massaria makeout session ended and that hasn't been an ongoing theme. That was my one thing. I was like, okay, if we're going to do this, fine, have your moment. But like, please don't have it be some weird romance messing up your small council. So I'm actually glad that it was like that one time. And now we've been able to see them continue to interact, whether they're having fun and frolicking. Otherwise, totally fine. But I didn't want it to become a plot point problem as we're already having these people who are becoming traitors. I didn't want it to have any other issues or have Jace have any other issues. So I just needed to say that I am glad about that.
Mo Whitman here on YouTube says, will he end up in a wheelchair?
I can see that.
I can see too. I like that as well. I like that as well. Before we get into the small council, I just want to reaffirm this. To me, there was just no moment that ends the show. And I think that's the reason why people were upset. And they have this moment where it's Alicent and Rhaenyra, and they've essentially switched places. Alicent at the beginning was crushed by the history and crushed by the prophecy that Viserys says, and they end her on this cliffside looking out over the horizon. Rhaenyra was the one that was free. She was free of all of that, and they end her crushed by the weight of history and everything. But again, there was no moment that marked. There was no Daenerys, right, getting on the ship to cross the narrow sea to go to Westeros like there was in season 6 or 7 of Game of Thrones, right? There was no moment where the dragons come off of her and they roar, or holding her up like in season 3, like all the slaves hold her up. There's just no moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, I think if they tied the theme and the anti-theme into that moment, people would have had a lot more closure.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to get
Quick things that I want to just quickly mention as my notes before we get into our small council. I don't understand why Corlys doesn't tell the truth, and I just think he sucks. That's why he was my bad. I absolutely loved the mud wrestling and the cannibalism jokes just because it added some levity in an otherwise pretty serious episode. I loved that the pirate lord kept naming Thailand different names.
Oh, I love that too.
Everyone was naming him.
That was really good stuff.
So good. The queen's dress when she's having dinner with her dragon seed and with Jace, she has shoulder pad dragons. So just when you see that,
yes,
it was
I love
so
that.
cool. Like, you know that she's like, oh, I'm with all dragon riders. I know what outfit to wear. I've got the perfect outfit.
And here's something else that you have to consider too. There's one dragon, there's a second dragon, and then her head is the third dragon, which makes up the sigil of the Targaryen family.
A shout out to Sir Simon Strong, who gets a whiff of danger. He probably did hear that traitor whisper and was like, I need to send a raven right away. Yep. And yet he is all sorts of clapping when everyone takes the knee. Adam finally opens his mouth and tells Dad what it is and says, not only did your son die, then your daughter died, your son died. Oh, and then little Luke, who you decided to name the Lord of Driftmark, he's dead. So now you're ready to pay attention to me. And I forgot that Luke was like kind of like third in line for that.
Finally, something interesting happens with that character, Alan. Finally. And I was happy that it happened. I just wish it happened sooner.
Alicent telling Rhaenyra, Alicent telling Rhaenyra, you know what? All of this sucks. Let's go camping.
Yeah.
You, me, Helaena, take whatever kids you want. Let's leave. And Rhaenyra says, I can't. There's like a bigger story that you don't understand about. But it reminded me of in Star Wars when Ben asks Rey to take his hand. And you can just see this plight of like, I could do this. I care for you. I love you. But it reminded me of Come With Me. Okay. And then
theme versus anti-theme. I'm just going to say that.
Great, Blake. Okay, we can do what you want to do.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yep.
All right. Small council. Let's do it.
His Grace has many cares. He entrusts some small matters to us that we might lighten the load.
We are the lords of small matters here.
Also, one other thing I want to mention, too. There's this great moment when Alicent, when she's in the middle of trying to make a decision about what she's going to do and if she's going to give her son up, she turns around and she starts biting her thumb, which, if you go back to season 1, when she was a kid and she felt helpless and she felt hopeless, that she couldn't control anything, that's what she did. She bit her thumb, and it was just this nervous tick. And I was so happy that they evoked that again in this episode, because it made sense that when Alicent felt like she was hopeless and she was dealing with stuff that was beyond her control, she was biting her thumb again. It was a mirroring moment for what she did as a kid back in season 1 when she felt the same way. So I really liked that. All right, so this first one comes from Melissa. She says, really let down by this finale. It was the perfect 8 out of a 10 episode season. Interesting. We should be getting ready to see these power plays go into motion next week and wind it down with a setup in episode 10 for the coming chess moves. This season left me as parched as Rhaena running around in the Vale. I know season 3 is going to be a massive, at least I hope. It just feels like the audience really got the shaft for the sake of their budget. This episode on its own was really good, just not in context of the season. 4.5 flames for me. My good! Simon Strong having Rhaenyra's back and calling her up to get a load of some trifling behavior. Sir Broom was way out of line. Can't wait to see him get some justice next season. My bad. Ulf not getting smacked upside the head or worse for his disrespectful behavior in front of the prince and the queen. He's going to be a problem. And my great, finally getting closure on Daemon's Harrenhal acid trip with the prophetic Weirwood vision in him fully committing to Rhaenyra. Loved seeing him bend the knee. Also, an honorable mention to the cinematography team for some incredible camera work, especially during Rhaenyra and Alicent's conversation and thereafter. Good stuff. Go Team Black. I will say this too, Melissa. I loved that moment when Ulf was saying what he was saying after Rhaenyra said, a knight would comport himself a lot better at my table. And when he says, better make me a knight then, it cuts back to Rhaenyra in the camera. And in the background, you see one of the knights grab the hilt of their sword. Like, oh, no. We don't talk to our queen like that. I thought that was a really cool moment.
Agreed.
We got some voicemails too. Let's get to them. Here we go.
Hi, Mary and Blake. It's Shannon from the UK here.
Hi, Shannon.
I've just finished the season finale. It's now 4 a.m.
Oh.
I found it quite underwhelming, but it's only because I know it's a season finale, and I guess I was expecting more. As a general episode, it was a pretty good one. I especially loved the little inclusion of Otto right at the very end. I had a feeling something bad had happened to him, especially with Alicent bringing him up a few episodes ago about not having heard from him. So having him, seeing him imprisoned, I have a feeling Larys had something to do with it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to add. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
And it looks like she actually sent another one.
Yeah.
So I'll play that right now.
Hi, Mary and Blake. It's Shannon from the UK again. I've watched the episode a second time now, and I just wanted to add some speculation on a comment our sweet Helaena made. Aegon will be king again, which we know this much. Then she adds, he sits on a wooden throne. Now, is she talking about Bran the Broken here, after Drogon burned down the Iron Throne?
Interesting. All right. So I first want to, Shannon, thank you for calling, by the way. I do want to address one of the things that you said, which was Otto being imprisoned. It looks like he's behind bars of some sort, and she posits that it might have been Larys who did this. What do you think about that take, Mary?
I wouldn't be surprised. I have to go back and figure out where Otto said he was going. If he's going into Team Blacklands, I also wouldn't be surprised if somebody just being like, you're useful, let's hold on to you.
Yeah, well, he was originally going to go to Old Town, and then they decided that he was going to go to the...
You know who I would love to have him?
Who?
Lady Jane Eyre.
Oh, Jane Eyre?
Yeah, Eyre.
Oh,
yeah, I could just see her doing that. She does not mess around. I doubt it's her, but I feel like that would be something she would do.
Yeah. What the heck? Where was he going to go?
Where's the place that Hugh's wife wanted to go? Tullytown? No. The place that sounds like Disneyland.
He was going to go to House Tyrell. That's where he was going to go of the High Garden. That's where they ended up agreeing where he was going to go. But I don't know if he ends up going there, or does he just stick around? King's Landing? Before he leaves, does Larys have him imprisoned? And that's the reason why he's not sending. I don't know. It's an interesting take. And then Shannon brings up, of course, Bran the Broken. It's something that we've already kind of talked about. You don't think that Helaena is referring to Bran the Broken at all?
I don't. I think, one of our comments here, Mo Whitman says, will he end up in a wheelchair? I can totally see that. like in a wheelchair.
Yep. All right. The next one comes from Enos. Enos says, this was a little bit disappointing. I realized they're setting up season 3, but oh, did it drag. The last 5 minutes with all the contestants marching, riding, sailing, flying to war with rousing music playing was quite well done, except for the Alicent and Aegon, who are turning away from the conflict. As for the flame rating, it's 4.6. The GBG, the good. Daemon's vision when he touched the Weirwood tree that connected House of the Dragon with Game of Thrones and is bending the knee to Rhaenyra gave us 2 of them speaking High Valyrian, which I love. The bad was Rhaena chasing the wild dragon in the Vale of Arryn dragged on too long. The great. The scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent, Emma Darcy, and Olivia Cook were brilliant. I would have liked the writers to give us one more episode with at least one battle thrown in. Oh, and introducing another ally for Side Green and the Pirate Queen. Is she a queen? Lohar seemed like it should have happened last episode. It did make for a few humorous minutes, though. Thank you, guys. Can't wait to hear what you're thinking of this episode. Still, Team Black.
Rhaena, she is a good bad, because let's be real. She didn't pack any snacks. She didn't bring a little knapsack, a blanket, and none of the people are even looking for her. She sucks.
Did that drag on too long for you?
Yeah.
I would kind of agree. It was a little.
I'm supposed to feel bad that you're thirsty? You planned poorly.
Yeah.
You planned poorly.
That was your fault. All right, let's get another voicemail here.
Hi, Mary and Blake. It's Gloria from Salem.
Hi, Gloria.
For the finale of Hot D. I was a little underwhelmed. I was hoping we'd see the Battle of the Gullet, which book readers will probably figure will be the first episode of season 3. So I'm going to give it 4.6 flames, which is pretty low for a finale. My good was Daemon's visions, thanks to Alice and her witchy help.
Mm-hmm.
He got to see some of the realm's future and his own. My bad is Ulf. I mean, what are you doing, guy?
Mm-hmm.
Such disrespect.
Yes.
The way he spoke to Jace and especially Rhaenyra. Seriously, dude, do you want to die right now? I don't know what he was doing. My great is the scene between Alice.
She's so from Boston. What are you doing, guy? Oh, Gloria. You know what you deserve?
Your cousin from Boston.
Oh, sorry. All right, continue on.
Alicent and Rhaenyra. The writing, the music, the acting, it was so heartbreaking. A son for a son. They're kind of in opposite situations now. Rhaenyra is all about duty, and Alicent wants to be free. And the dragon, Sunfire, is dead? No. He still has stuff to do.
That's what I thought.
That would be a humongous change from the book, and I know they're changing things up, but Sunfire is involved in a huge plot in the future.
Thanks,
That
Gloria.
just wouldn't be right. Rhaenyra, talking to Corlys. She's very happy about Adam, which he seems like he's had a little to do with him, so Corlys says, to his regret. Rhaenyra's like, I'm not going to unpack that right now. Yeah. Maybe we could talk about it later. Okay. I think my time is running out. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks, Gloria.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting take. All right, let's get to the next one here. Mary, why don't you read the one from Caitlin?
Caitlin says, 4.6 flames from me. My good, the Snake renaming his ship to the Queen Who Never Was. I start to cry. My bad, Ulf, I don't like him. I think he's going to be a problem. My great, the closing music for the episode. I loved it, especially the last shot of Alicent. Still Team Black now. Have to wait 2 more years for the next season. Thankfully, Outlander will be coming back soon.
Yes,
agreed,
it will.
Caitlin.
Yes, it will.
Becky Hoff says, I feel like they gave us next to nothing in this episode, and after the bad ending with episode 7, with Aemond hightailing it away from Dragonstone and the shot of Rhaenyra standing with her fleet of dragons and dragon riders, it felt like this, episode 8, should have been the penultimate episode with the next one beginning the battle. I hate that we have to wait years for the battle. I would forget everything in that time. So much set up in this episode. The only thing that really stands out to me are Daemon's vision, changing into the scene with Helaena and Aemond, and getting to see the wild dragon that Rhaena has been searching for. He is an absolute stunner. Really enjoyed watching you, Mary and Blake, and the Nerd Clan. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's get to the next voicemail.
Hi, Mary and Blake. This is Tracy from
Tracy.
Kentucky. This
Hi,
is
Tracy.
my first time calling.
Okay, hold on. There we go. All right.
Wow, I can't believe the season is already over. I'm going to give this episode a 4.3. The reason for that is I think it was a really great episode, but I was disappointed that that was our season finale. For my good, my bad, and my great, I really had a lot of trouble narrowing it down, But my good was Helaena finally speaking up and having her voice heard. Maybe they'll finally start paying attention to her. My bad, I have a tie between the scenes at the Triarchy. I'm just not invested in Tywin Lannister enough that I really cared. And I was just not feeling them. And then also Ulf, I just really can't with his disrespect. I think he's going to be a problem. And then my great was Daemon having the vision at the Godswood tree. I loved him seeing the flash forwards with Daenerys and her dragons.
So good.
And then him bowing to Rhaenyra and that talk he had with her. I just loved it. Anyways, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait for season 3.
Yay!
I think, everyone's saying that Ulf's going to be a problem. I don't deny that, but I also think that might be a bit of a red herring. Like, yeah, we're going to make it so that this guy's obviously an issue, and then he won't be. What I think is going to be the real issue is going to be Sir Alfred.
Who is he?
That's the guy that was talking to Daemon about, hey, we need a king.
Sir Broom?
Yeah, Sir Broom. He's going to be the major problem going forward. Because when Daemon...
I think it's Hugh.
Oh, you think Hugh's going to be the issue?
I think it's going to be Hugh.
Really? How come?
I don't know. I mean, I know he pet the dog.
You gave him a lot of good points.
But I got to tell you, he left his wife. I don't even know if she knows. I don't know if he just packed his bag and never came back.
I kind of wanted the episode to begin with him writing a letter to her.
Yeah.
Because that pays off the emotional journey that we've gone on.
Haven't seen a letter.
There was even a VO. Here's a great idea. A VO starting off the episode with Hugh, talking about the process. I've become a dragon rider. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come get you.
Maybe he doesn't know how to read
I'm going to be a knight.
He might not know how to write.
But let's just say that he does. And then ending the episode with another VO, but Aegon leaving a note for his mother saying, I've done all the things. I should have listened to you. I should have done nothing. But here I am now. I'm doing something, and I'm going to become the king that you wanted me to be. Oh.
So I'm watching out for Hugh because, like I said, he pet the dog, but he stole that person's food. He didn't say goodbye to his wife. They're going to be maybe burning small folk. I don't know. I don't know how he's going to feel about that, to be honest. At least Ulf, we know how he feels about it, but I don't think Hugh's going to feel too good about it. And I think that this power is going to be a lot for him.
All right, this one comes from Melissa. She says, I give this episode 5 flames. While I wish we should have had the start of some battle, I feel like it's set up for an amazing season 3. # Team Black. My good. The end scenes, beginning with Alicent and Rhaenyra and ending by showing all of the armies and different factions moving toward war. It's going to be very exciting, I think. So I'm not sure if Alicent can be trusted, but Aegon will be long gone by the time Rhaenyra gets to King's Landing, so the plans set by the two will not be able to be fulfilled. My bad. HBO and Max for cutting the season short by 2 episodes. We needed those 2 episodes to have a complete season, and it makes no sense to cut it short. My great. Everything Daemon, especially his seeing the future, with some nods given to Game of Thrones lore, and him finally bending the knee, rightfully so, to Rhaenyra. All in all, a good season, in my opinion, but it'll be a long wait for fans to see the war that has been building. Hopefully, it'll be worth the wait. Mary, what do you think? Did all the time that Daemon spent in Harrenhal, was that well spent? Now that you see the ending of the story?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you.
I'm here for it. He needed to fully believe that this isn't... He has to understand his part of the story.
Yes.
So
could it have happened faster? Probably. But again, we have to have a closing moment for him, and I think that closing moment is what we saw, and I think it worked fantastically.
Our studio said, as Bette Midler said, what a Pitts ending to a really terrific song. Agree with all the comments about disappointment with the ending. The episode felt like it was checking boxes next to all the required plot points with very few truly satisfying moments. The good Rhaenyra Rhaena finally finding a dragon. Yes, it seemed a little preposterous with the worn out shoe and blue lips, but she found her critter, and I'm here for it. The bad. I had a really hard time caring about what happened to Aemond and Larys. Oh, so that's Aegon and Larys, or the buffoonery of Ulf, who is just as annoying, or Kristen Cole and Dwayne. Even Aemond has become a cartoon villain. The worst of all was the waste of excellent bookend scenes between Rhaenyra and Alicent that led to the least impactful cliffhanger ever. The great Daemon. Finally, the owl lady pays off with a vision of the future complete with White Walkers and 3 hatching dragons silhouetted in flames in Daenerys' arms. When Daemon whispered sweet nothings in Valyrian to Rhaena and bent the knee in front of his gathered army, talk about smoking hot. Team Black 4.5 flames.
This one comes from Marie, and she says, did this episode feel more like a mid-season finale than a season finale? Yes. Was it good anyway? Also, yes. I give it 4.6 flames. The end montage somewhat reminded me of that Game of Thrones finale where we saw Daenerys sails to Westeros. It's like the calm before a big storm. I get it. They restructured the season so it would be 8 episodes, and some things had to be pushed back. It's fine. My good. The conversation between Rhaenyra and Alicent. We already know their plan is going to go south, partly because of Aegon fleeing King's Landing, but it was really good to see those two face off each other again. My bad. Ulf, that man is trouble. I am telling you, I don't think it's far-fetched to predict he will mess things up for Team Black big time, or might even betray them for the Greens at the first sign he'll get a bit better deal from them. I just don't trust that guy, and not just because he has the poor table manners. My great, Daemon's change of heart. Finally, all of those visions, all at the same time, all that time at Harrenhal paid off, and I didn't expect him to bend the knee. I'm pleasantly surprised that seeing the future made him realize he needed to put his selfish desires aside for the greater good of the realm. Nice job, Daemon. Cue that pitch-perfect song. Take it away, Mary. I saw the sign.
Yes.
And I'm not supposed to sing. Sorry. Go ahead, Mary. You can sing it.
It's okay. You already, yeah.
And it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Oh, and special mention to Rhaenyra's shoulder pads, or whatever that was called during the dinner scene. Those dragons, epaulets, I don't know how to say that, were outstanding costume design. I agree. They were. It was awesome.
Agreed.
We got some more voicemail. Here we go.
Hi, Mary Blake. This is Ashley from Massachusetts. I can't seem to find a neurologist to see. I was actually cracking up at last week's episode with Blake's comments about me seeing a neurologist because I just like to contribute to these episodes. And I'm recording in my car right now before work. And if I'm being honest, when I'm watching the episodes on Sundays, I usually may fall asleep for a minute or two.
Same.
And I am going to go back and rewatch everything.
Same.
But I just want my, I want my comment to be in the podcast.
Of course.
Girl. So,
no judgment.
That being said, I wrote down my answers on a napkin so that I could remember what I was going to say.
Oh my God, Blake,
so
look what you did.
My good is...
I made the poor girl write down answers on a napkin.
You're the worst. He's the worst, Ashley. Don't you worry. You can just give people nicknames. That's what I do.
Oh, Ashley, I'm glad you at least saw it for the fun that it was. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That whole scene with Aemond and Helaena, I always feel like Aemond likes to seem like he's really hard and scary, but he seems to have a softer side in a way, or he's just really insecure and he always wants to prove himself. My bad is Alicent being able to get to Dragonstone again to talk to Rhaenyra. I liked that they were talking, but it just seems so easy for anybody to sneak in here. My great was Daemon's prof. Oh no, I'm going to run out of time. Maybe I'll call back.
All right, well, good. She did call back. I'll give it's the finale. We break the rules at the finale. Okay, here we go.
If you play this, thank you. So my great was Daemon seeing that whole prophecy of like the White Walkers, and I love that he said the winter is coming, and I just love that he kneeled to Rhaenyra. And you're gonna hate me, but I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Otto?
Yes,
there you go.
No. I don't remember. I'm not going to bring it up. Oh yeah, and Otto Hightower was in the trunk. I don't know. I really liked the episode. I think some people didn't like it, but I'm just really excited for season 3. I feel like if they had a fight in this episode, it would have felt kind of weird ending it that way. I liked the build up, and I'll give it a 5 flames overall for the whole season. Thank you and goodbye.
Yay.
Thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate that. And again, I just want to say, Ashley, I it was all in jest. It was a jest, my lord, a jest about the neurologist. I'm glad that you took it as such. All right, the next one comes from Sarah. She says 4.5 flames. It was good. Some great bits, some okay bits, a solid setup to next season. My good, the actor Jefferson Hall, who plays Sir Tywin Lannister, who did a great job in connecting me to a character and side plot I actually don't really care about. A lot of eye and facial acting that was so earnest, it was endearing. My bad. Side plots I didn't emotionally connect with that I think I meant to really care about, like Rhaenyra's story, Corlys and his son, or Ulf. What a caricature, by the way. It feels obvious that I meant to care, but I don't. And her great is, outside of the amazing acting of the two actresses, I'd like to specifically mention Rhaenyra's line to Alicent, "History will paint you a villain." I feel like this could be a rather meta reference to the book inspiring the TV show. This book was written as a scholarly history of the Targaryen Civil War rather than a novel. I wonder if the line "history will paint you a villain" references the less sympathetic portrayal of Alicent in the histories compared to the fleshed-out, multifaceted version of her in the show, highlighting that a historical recount can only be based on the interpretation of historians based on the available facts from the past. Such a private conversation between the women might not ever be documented to inform future historians. And side note, Sarah, just as someone who earned their degree in history and who loves history and considers himself an amateur historian, I 100% completely agree with you. Just because it's written in the books the way that we see it or read it does not mean it is that way. So excellent. Also, a deep Mary and Blake connection to the Last Kingdom podcast, where King Alfred, a real historical figure, explains why our protagonist Uhtred, a fictitious character, won't be known in the histories, but his actions will be famous, as well as plausibly inserting a fictitious character into historical fiction piece. It's another cool commentary on how real history and interpreted histories influence one another. Yes, totally a great deep cut, Sarah. You're bringing the heat today. Great job.
I'm really excited for history. I know that this is off topic, but, you know, going along with what Sarah's saying, like, I'm really excited for history of the future, you know, our descendants, because so much more gets to be documented.
Sure,
and now with our smartphones and social media and blogs and vlogs, everybody can document their truth. Everyone can document their day. Everyone can document their side. And it's been so eye-opening, whether you're looking politically or if you're looking at war, if you're looking at all this stuff, that we actually have the ability to see both sides. We have through other people's lenses, through people's cameras, you know what I mean? Or through their words. And I just think it's a really neat thing. And you know, Rhaenyra and Alicent didn't get to take a selfie before and say, it's good to get together with an old friend, you know, clear the air. If they had been able to write in their own scrolls, Rhaenyra has all that history in that picture that you talked about.
Right.
Is she writing things down? Is she documenting, "Dear Diary, today I met with Alicent and XYZ happened"? If not,
I doubt it.
That would have been really nice and helpful, but I doubt it too, because we don't hear about it in this book. But it just, you know, it makes you grateful for captain's logs and things like that, so that you do have that insider report. Otherwise, the person who pens the tale or weaves the tapestry, if you may, it's their side and their story that history remembers.
Interesting. All right, why don't you read the one from Laura?
Laura says, the era of prestige TV is over.
Oh.
Rest in peace, HBO. All of our shows have been robber baroned. What does that mean? Robber baroned.
I have no idea what that means.
Robber baroned by boards and CEOs whose main objective isn't art, but shareholder value. Blake, you need to Google robber baroned, because I don't even know this phrase. I don't even know. Maybe, you know, it might have been something that she wrote that like auto-corrected, or it might be a real thing. Is it a real thing?
Robber baron.
Okay.
Oh, robber baroned, not baroned.
Accent on the wrong syllable.
Robber baron is a derogatory term for wealthy and powerful American businessmen in the 19th century who were accused of unethical business practices. The term was first used in the 1870s by muckrakers and others during the Gilded Age, and some examples of so-called robber barons included Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, and John D. Rockefeller.
Maybe she watches The Gilded Age.
Oh, that could be.
And maybe
that's
it's
a good
like a very common phrase for Gilded Age fans. Fun fact, a lot of it's filmed in Newport, Rhode Island. Blake and I still have not watched the show yet, but
we want to.
We will. Okay, so Laura gives 4.7 flames for this one. First off, Mary, the Greybeards. Yes, Laura, I'm here for it. Okay, she said, okay, the good. Helaena and Aemond seen together. This show shines when you let the weird in, and that's exactly what Helaena did. I can't wait to see what's in store for her now when she seems to have discovered the power within her own mind. Gosh, and Aemond. It's easy to forget these kids are supposed to be like 17 to 15. In this scene, his face is all angry, scared, frustrated baby boy who just wants his family's unconditional support and attention. It's just all too much. Her bad, Corlys leaving just as things are amping up. Yeah, I agree with you. Not only does it feel like he's probably going to die, more than likely in his son's forgiving arms, but what kind of hand just leaves his queen in the middle of a war without any substitute? When Tywin went to Harrenhal in Game of Thrones, he left Tyrion in his place, ensuring another smart player to keep Joffrey's, stuff from hitting the fan. Corlys has the potential to be a great hand, as evidenced by his counsel to Rhaenyra in this very episode. What are they thinking, letting him ride off to battle? The great. Everything Harrenhal, from secret agent man Sir Simon to Daemon binge watching Game of Thrones. This is the only story arc that actually got settled. His line, "This place will have you howling at the moon," felt like a metaphor for the show and the fandom. We know it's useless to complain over the logistics of the show, but we still do. And yes, we're still all hooked and we'll be counting down the days until the next season. But seriously, the Weirwood tree trip was weird, was cool, alluding to just enough book lore to get us nerds all riled up and running to forums. Then the scene of Daemon rousing up the troops, underlining just why Jace kept harping on all the importance of Daemon. The man, if not a good ruler, is a natural leader and a great warrior. Plus the sexual and emotional tension between Daemon and Rhaenyra as he declares his undying loyalty to her. Thank the seven gods these two are back on the same team again. Thanks for the coverage. See everyone for Rings of Power. Laura, you bring up the Game of Thrones binge watching. When Daemon touched that Weirwood tree, I remembered. Do you remember before you would watch a new season of Game of Thrones, if you didn't have time to binge watch all the previous seasons?
You had to get the catch-up video?
Yeah, you got the catch-up video. And there was like, here's your 2-hour catch-up video. Here's your 15-minute catch-up video. Here's your 5-minute. And you had to make a choice.
Yeah. Like,
all right, which one am I going to do? And when they were able to cram it into a very short amount of time, especially for the latter seasons, it got crazy. And that's what I thought of when Daemon touched it. I was like, oh, it's like the 5-minute YouTube videos that catch you up for season 7.
Yeah, he got that. All right, let's get to the next voicemail.
Hi, Mary and Blake. This is Taylor, first-time caller.
Hi, Taylor.
Oh, here we go. There you go, Taylor. You're welcome.
I'm from Pennsylvania. I found you guys watching Bridgerton, then I realized you watched The Last Kingdom, so I went back and rewatched along with you, listening to your podcast on each episode. I love you guys' insight.
Thank you.
I give this episode the finale of 4.7. This was definitely a setup season, which is fine with me, even though I know a lot of fans are angry. My GBG, good, was seeing Daemon and Rhaenyra reunite. My bad, Aemond, he's completely out of control. I love that Alicent stood up to him. And Helaena definitely clapped back at him, scared him to death. Loved it. My great, everything that involves the triarchy. Love.
Pirate
so
time,
funny.
baby.
Definitely not a finale type of episode, but definitely a good episode nonetheless. Thanks again, and I can't wait to see you guys in 2 years.
Oh,
have a great day.
Oh, thank
2
you.
years. That was Taylor, right?
Yes.
Taylor, hopefully you can watch some of the other shows that we cover in this 2-year break. Kathy Jo Dorgan wrote in saying, what a fantastic mid-season finale, end of season. It was okay. I would say 4.5 flames. I got to say, Kathy and Laura, both of them were like, but they still gave it pretty good ratings.
Right. And that's why I love this, because some people are just like, but a 4.5 is still pretty good.
That's still a solid A.
Yeah.
Not an A+. It's an A.
It's an A-.
Yeah?
4.5. I feel like it's an A. You're bordering B+ at this point.
Okay, but still.
Yeah,
but good.
And not bad.
Yeah, so Kathy Jo says, still say 4.5 flames for some conclusions and set up for the next final 2 seasons. Her good, Alicent's attempt to end the war up to and including the fact that she is accepting that Aegon will have to die and that he will have to be executed. That's a tough decision to see this on her face. She has become resolved to a terrible fate. Also,
and I'm sorry, just as I'm thinking about this, she has to make the same choice that Helaena made at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
She has to say which child she's going to choose
Look at that.
and which one is going to die.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
She's become also a shout out, finally seeing some Starks. And I want to see some dire wolves. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
If Lannisters bring you some lions, then Starks can bring their wolves.
Yep, absolutely.
Bad. A tie. My apologies. Aegon, the split sausage Targaryen, slinks away. I completely disagree with this move. He is the king, broken or not. Larys may believe he is trying to do the right thing, but he's wrong. Again, if Otto was here, this wouldn't happen. And number 2, Ulf is a jackass. To quote Shakespeare, he is a, quote, a most notable coward, an infinite and endless liar, a hourly promise breaker, the owner of no one good quality, end quote. Or the more fitting, quote, thou clay-brained guts, thou naughty-pated fool, thou whoreson, obscene, greasy tallow catch, end quote.
We got classed up here at Mary and Blake Media.
Right? Her great, the vision and Daemon seeing the path of the future, and he accepts it. The Song of Ice and Fire, the Three-Eyed Raven, and the dragons, and what we can only assume is Dany. Outstanding. Small secondary shout out for Alan for giving his father the truth finally and laying it out there. Corlys was wrong, and Inn must find a way to accept it and apologize for it.
I don't think he'll ever apologize unless it's on his dying bed.
Yeah, that's where it's going to happen. I mean, Corlys needs to die soon.
He's going to die. He absolutely is going to die.
There's no point to him right now.
Well, right now there isn't. Oh, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Corlys next season.
And then he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, my son. By the way, you get to be in charge of the place. You get to be my salt and sea guy."
Here's an interesting idea. What if Corlys betrays Rhaenyra because he's angry at her for Rhaenys' death?
He's not.
I get a sense that might happen. Wow. It just, call it an early hot take, if you will. It may not happen next season, but I feel like that natural progression of things, that may happen. All right, this one comes from Kristen. She says, I give this episode 3.9 flames. As much as I enjoy being in the Game of Thrones world, it really felt like we were treading water this season. As a whole, this felt like they were committed to giving us a season, regardless of the writers and actors strikes, and we ended up with something reminiscent of bad network drama / soap opera ETV. While the show was visually stunning, many serious conversations lacked the depth and intelligence they needed and fell flat, in my opinion. I see people saying clearly you haven't read the books if you're surprised by how slow it's moving, and I get it, but one thing I think we all accept over here is this. The book is the book, and the show is the show. Yes, Kristen, I think that might be the number one Mary and Blake Media commandment. Just like with the Outlander books, they have a lot of filler and detail that just don't translate or need to be shown on screen. Pretty disappointed in this season overall, I have to say. Anyways, I guess I'll get on with my GBG. My good. Daemon, bending the knee and accepting his role in what's to come. Bad. Almost everything Aemond. They've turned him into a mustache-twirling villain with very little depth. I think the writing has let his character down. The great is all the second sight and telling of the futures. Seeing Helaena cross over into Daemon's vision and Daemon seeing what's to come for his side of the Targaryen line. And after seeing the story they intended to tell, this season gets 3.5 for me overall. P.S. I've been listening for years, but this is my first time giving feedback on a show. Yay!
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to hear your take on the Season 2 finale. Take care. Mary, there is a great question here. Is Aemond a mustache-twirling villain, in your opinion?
Ooh. Right now, yeah. It's tough. We saw him as a kid. We saw him be bullied. We saw him at least cut down the rat catchers. We thought we had a good thing going.
Yeah.
That was like the one good thing he did. It's really tough. It is really, really tough because if you sit down and you say, what would I do if I had an idiotic brother in charge who was making mistake after mistake after mistake? I know I'm more intelligent. I have ideas. I've also got the biggest, baddest dragon. It's
the second biggest, baddest dragon. Because Vhagar is the biggest, baddest dragon.
Yeah, and that's his dragon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Helaena. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking about Aemond. It's And he sees that he has to be the protector of his family. He's got his mom. He's got his sister. You guys can't really do too awfully much. But when he fired up and sizzled his brother and didn't do anything about it and was about to maybe go kill him, when Kristen Cole goes to go check him out, that's when I started to get really nervous.
Sure.
So is he a mustache twirling villain? Kind of. However, I do think he has a bit more of a backstory than most mustache twirling villains do.
Sure. I want to co-sign on that, Mary. I think he's on the road to it. I think everything that we've seen from him so far has been pretty good up until the moment when he tells Helaena, I could have you killed. It's not to say that that's bad. That is what a mustache twirling villain would do.
That's like kicking a dog.
It's kicking a dog.
Okay.
Absolutely.
In case you need me to seal the deal that I'm mean.
even the whole thing where he goes up to Helaena initially and says, you're going to do this. We're doing this. I can accept that. I can accept that as a person who is frustrated, is tired, is scared, and is scared because the decisions he's making are having these real repercussions. Mm-hmm. And he just got embarrassed essentially by Rhaenyra and those other dragons. So it's like, no, we need to do this. And that is his insecurity coming through, right? But you can also see that when he approaches Helaena a second time, that he's thought about it and was like, that was not the right choice. How I approached it was inappropriate. Whereas a mustache twirling villain wouldn't do that at all. It would just continue to be the same thing. Like I said, where we kind of go down that road is the I could have you killed line. I think that lends itself more to that theory. All right, we have our final voicemail. You ready for it, Marvin?
I am.
Here we go.
Hi, Mary and Blake. This is Taylor calling again from Pennsylvania.
It's okay, Taylor. It's the finale. We can break all the rules. That's how we do it here at Mary and Blake Media.
Apologize, but I just wanted to make sure you all knew that Ryan Condal confirmed that the vision that Daemon saw with Dany is not a confirmation that she was the prince that was promised. He's leaving that up to George R. R. Martin. And I also wanted to let you know, I know you guys were looking forward to the Starks showing up, and they apparently did film a scene. I did see that Cregan Stark was there with the Greybeards in that brief moment, but they cut the scene. I'm not entirely sure why, but I'm guessing it's something to do with logistics on the fact that he wouldn't show up with them at that time. He would show up with his main army and not the Greybeards. I just wanted to let you know, I'll be back with you guys in Outlander in November. It just took so long. And I'll be back also in 2 years with Bridgerton or House of Dragon, whichever one comes first. Hope you guys have a great rest of your summer.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're with us for Rings of Power, too. I think that'd be great. Great to have you on board. And thank you for that information, especially about Cregan Stark and that scene. And yeah, Mary, I'm not sure how into the whole prophecy, Prince That Was Promised, Azor Ahai, all that stuff you are.
Into it, I am?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you really care.
Meaning, will I be mad if that's Dany at the end, meaning that's the end of the story?
Well, no, meaning the Prince That Was Promised, Game of Thrones.
No, I'm not mad. Yeah. I did not get upset seeing Dany. I thought it was cool. Thought it was really cool to see that. To me, it was all of our dragons will die.
Yes.
And yet we will have new dragons one day in the future.
Right.
And what, of course, is super neat is Rhaenyra and Daenerys have pretty similar hairstyles.
Right,
so
yeah.
from behind, you could just think it's Rhaenyra hanging out with baby dragons.
Yep.
And then she's on the throne. All of us know who it is.
Right.
But Daemon probably thinks it's just Rhaenyra.
Yeah, or he recognizes, oh, that's another Targaryen. Mm-hmm. The dragons are coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some controversy, I guess, about the Weirwood tree trip. Meaning that they showed the comet, and the comet was supposed to show that the prince that was promised was supposed to be around, and this show essentially is positing that the prince that was promised was Daenerys, whereas Game of Thrones itself posited that it was Jon Snow, right? So listen, is there room for interpretation there? I would say maybe, but only insofar as George R.R. Martin himself has not commented on who the prince that was promised is. And until we have...
He's just twiddling his thumbs.
Yeah, right. I know. Dude, I just hope the guy takes his vitamins. I just, seriously. Until we have something else, I'm going to say that the prince that was promised was Jon Snow. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that's what the Game of Thrones show said to us. And until Gurm says something different, that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
And that, it is a little misleading to have Daenerys at the end of that, but just because the comment was there doesn't mean that the comment is referring to Daenerys, right? It just means that Daemon sees someone that is either Rhaenyra in his eyes, or he knows that it's a Targaryen that's later down on his line. Mm-hmm. And it would make sense that he sees Daenerys because she's a direct descendant of Rhaenyra.
Agreed.
Right? So it makes sense to me. All right, that is that, Marvin. That is the end of our listener feedback. Awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to tackle before we say goodbye?
No, thank you all so much for sharing your thoughts and your insight into the episode as you always do. Blake, any hot takes?
Oh, that's a great question. I have one written down here. Where is it? Oh, okay, yes. Let me get my hot take sound here. Hold on. All right, so aside from some of the hot takes that I've already given, I do have another. And that is this. Jace has the conversation with Baela, or Baela has a conversation with Jace about, like, what are you doing? You're sitting around here and you're sulking. And because you believe that if not for the dragon or the trappings of your station, you are nothing. Do you believe that you are the first noble heir that was not sired by his noble father? Such is the way of the world, Jace, and in resenting it, you only diminish yourself. That, to me, speaks or screams of motivating words for Jace to do something, perhaps at the Battle of the Gullet, or at another battle. Let's say when the Triarchy has to get through the blockade. Mm-hmm. This screams to me that Jace will do something at one of these battles to try to separate himself from Adam and Ulf and Hugh. To say, no. Yeah, you guys might be dragon riders, but I am the heir, and because I'm the heir, I can do X, Y, and Z, and you can't. Like, he's going to do a dangerous maneuver, or he's going to go into battle thinking that he's going to be fine, and he's not. Like, right? Like, an example would be this. If Aemond had not turned around on Vhagar, like, what would have happened to Aemond and Vhagar? Mm-hmm. My thought would be Jace doesn't turn around. He keeps going. And because he does something of this nature, he gets killed.
Oh.
So his effort to try to prove himself.
To be fancy
and to be above these other people is what leads to his demise.
Okay.
Next season.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's my hot take. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to say is, clearly Mary and I, if you're listening to this in live time, we waited about a week or so to get this episode out. We did have some other things happening in our lives that prevented us from getting it out quickly. But I do want to say this, Mary. I think I am happy that we took some time. I'm happy that we allowed the finale to kind of wash over us a little bit, because, like I've said in Bridgerton, Mary and I very rarely talk about the show that we're podcasting when it's over. And we do that on purpose because we want that conversation to be had here with you, the listener, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't often talk, but after this episode, she asked me, and I could tell she wanted to ask me, which was, so what'd you think?
Yeah.
And my immediate response was, I was really disappointed. And because we didn't get the battle, we didn't get the thing. And but getting some time away from it and looking at the finale just as it is, I think they wrote truly a perfect finale for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Right, at least thematically, until they just didn't give us a moment at the end to send it off. And they gave us one, but it didn't ring true to what the season had said to itself, or what the season had at least given us the idea that it was going for.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, yes, Rhaenyra is trapped by history, but I don't think that Alicent is free. I think that she's stuck. And I would have liked something to show that a little bit better. All right, that's it.
That's it.
All right, here we go.
All right, friends, we're here at the end of House of the Dragon Season 2, but I do want to remind you that we're going to be podcasting about The Rings of Power, Outlander, Harry Potter, and much more. So stay tuned at maryandblake.com. Make sure you sign up for our email list. I need to get that up and going, I promise. I've got a lot going on this summer. So that is going to be more used if you want to stay in the know. If you haven't yet watched The Last Kingdom, we have a companion podcast for that show. It's a show that is on Netflix. And I feel like if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you would like The Last Kingdom. And if, like me, it takes you a little while to get into some episodes, trust me, The Last Kingdom is worth it.
If you're an Outlander fan, I think you'll like The Last Kingdom too. It's a fantastic show that kind of blends all of these cultures all in one. And that really is what the show is about. It's about a guy trying to understand if he's a Viking or if he's a Saxon, and it's an interesting show, and it's one of my favorite podcasts that I did with Mary, just because I think that show hit home for us in many different ways, and we just had a lot of fun with it. So I really liked that. Of course, go to maryandblake.com to check that out, or to check out any of the podcasts that we have there, whether it is Outlander or Harry Potter or The Crown or, oh geez, we got so many. I'm sure we got something for you. I mean, we even got a podcast about Hamilton, the show. So trust me, we got something there for you that I know you'll like. And if you do want to go back and re-experience the final season of Game of Thrones with us, you actually can, because we did a podcast for that as well. It is called The North Remembers, and we only podcasted about the final season. So that is that. JoinTheNerdClan.com is also a really special place where you get a lot of different fun things that you don't normally get when you're on the free feeds. And you just get a chance to hang out with Mary and I just a little bit more, with a little bit more personal stuff hanging on out there. So that's that.
All right, everybody. On that note, my name is Mary.
My name is Blake.
Dracarys.